Welcome to Coach Taylor's class videos. Today we're going to talk about angle pairs and transversal lines. So first let's talk about what a transversal is. A transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines. So if we look at this picture here, using our definition, our transversal is going to be line T because it intersects and crosses through both L and M. So again, our transversal, in this case, the line that intersects two or more, is line T. So now let's talk about what we know when we have a transversal and what kind of angles there are and what they exist. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about corresponding angles. So when we talk about corresponding angles, it's angles on the same side of the transversal and in the same position. So real quick, let's look at this. When we talk about same side, so if line T is our transversal, when we talk about same side, we're talking about everything on this side of the transversal, or we're talking about everything on this side of the transversal. So that's what we mean by same side. The next phrases you'll hear interior and exterior. Interior is anything in between the two lines that the transversal is on, and exterior is anything outside those two lines. So again, you've got interior and exterior, and then you have same side. And so right now we're going to look at corresponding angles. And so when we're looking at corresponding angles, they have to be in the same position on the same side. So angle 2 is north or above line L, but to the right of T. So we want to find the number that is north of line M or above and also to the right of T. So that makes angle 2 and angle 6 corresponding angles. Now let's look at 1. So 1's on the left side and above L. And so its corresponding angle is going to be 5 because it's above M, but still on the left side. So angle 1 and angle 5 are our corresponding angles. So if we look at angle 3, it's below L, but on the right side, which makes 7 below M, and on the right side, its corresponding angle. And then finally, 4 and 8 are our last pair of corresponding angles. So again, same side of the transversal, right or left, and then the same position, either above or below one of the lines the transversal crosses. So now let's look at our next definition, and our next definition is going to be alternate interior angles. So alternate means that they are on opposite sides, so opposite sides of the transversal. I just realized that's in the definition right here. And the other key word is interior. So again, we said interior is anything inside the two lines that the transversal crosses. So if we look at angle 4, let me actually get something I can write with. So if we're looking at angle 4, it has to be on the opposite side of the transversal, and it cannot be adjacent. So 4 and 3 would be adjacent, and so 6 is going to be the opposite side, and it's going to be the alternate interior angle. So angle 4 and angle 6 are alternate interior angles. So 4 and 6 are alternate interior, 3 and 5 are also alternate interior angles. What in the world did you do? There we go. Sorry, not 4 and 5. 3 and 5. Angle 3 and angle 5 are alternate interior angles. So now we're going to look at our alternate exterior angles. So exterior is everything above or below the two lines. It's on the outside, not the interior. So the same rules are still going to apply. They need to be non-adjacent, and they need to be on opposite sides. So if I've got angle 1, the opposite side non-adjacent is going to be angle 7. So angle 1 and angle 7 are going to be our alternate exterior angles, which means that 2 and 8 are going to be our other pair of alternate exterior angles. So now let's look at our next concept, which is consecutive. So consecutive means that they are right in the row. It also means that they are on the same side of the transversal. So the first one that we're going to look at is we're going to look at consecutive interior angles. So again, interior means it is inside the two lines that the transversal crosses. And we said consecutive have to be in a row, so they're next to each other, and then they need to be on the same side of the transversal. So that transversal is going to cut it in half. So that means that angle 3 and angle 6 are consecutive interior angles. So angle 3 and angle 6, which makes our other two, 4 and 5, our other pair of consecutive interior angles. So now let's look at consecutive exterior angles and see what that looks like. So again, exterior means it is outside of, so above or below the two lines that are crossed by the transversal. So they're going to be there. Again, consecutive means they're on the same side. So if we have angle 2, it has to be on the same side of the transversal, which means the only other angle that's on the same side is going to be angle 7. So 2 and 7. And if we look at the opposite side, we have angle 1 and angle 8. And so that's just a brief overview of the types of angles that are created when we have a transversal. Remember, a transversal crosses two or more lines. So now let's look at this example problem right here. Let's look at the angles that were given, and then let's figure out their pairs. So if we have 5 and 13, so I need to find angle 5, I need to find angle 13. So what I need to first identify is what is my transversal. So the transversal is going to be the line that crosses two lines. So if I look at 5 and 13, the line that they're on is line B. And so line B crosses C and D. So now I'm comparing 5 and 13. So 5 is on above line C and to the left of the transversal. 13 is above D and to the left of the transversal, which makes these corresponding angles. Next, we're going to look at 7 and 14. So I'm going to circle 7 and I'm going to circle 14. So we're still using the same transversal. We're still using B because B crosses C and D, and so that's what makes B our transversal. I know that they're both interior, so they're either going to be consecutive, which means they're on the same side, or they're going to be alternate, which means they're on opposite sides. And since they're on opposite sides of the transversal, I know these are alternate interior angles. Now let's look at 3 and 6. So I have angle, I'm going to erase everything because this is going to change based on what we've been looking at. And so we're going to start fresh and new. So I have angle 3 and I have angle 6. So I'm looking for the line that crosses two lines. So my transversal is going to be line C because line C crosses A and B. And so that's what I'm looking at. So the first thing I notice is that these are both exterior angles. They are outside of my two lines that line C crosses. So I know they're going to be exterior. So the next thing that we need to decide is, are they exterior consecutive or exterior alternate? And so because they're on opposite sides of C, I know they are exterior alternate angles. And again, you can think about it, alternate exterior, exterior alternate. It really means the same thing. All right, so now let's look at 9 and 14. I'm going to erase what I just drew because we're going to be looking at a different transversal, and I want to be able to show that. So 9 and 14, we're going to do in this color. So we have 9 and we have 14. So they're both on line D, and line D crosses two others. So that tells me that line D is going to be my transversal. So right away what I notice is that both 9 and 14 are on the same side of the transversal. They're both above the transversal. So that means they're going to be consecutive. And then they are outside of A and B, which makes them exterior. So they're consecutive exterior angles. All right, so let's look at our next pairing here. So 4 and 7. So 4 and 7, the line that they share is line C, which makes line C the transversal, and line C is crossing A and B. So if I look at A and B here, I notice that 4 and 7 are in the middle of A and B, which is going to make them interior. But I also notice they're both below my transversal, which is line C, which is going to make them consecutive. So interior consecutive or consecutive interior angles. All right, now we're looking at 2 and 10, which means we need to refresh on our graphic here. So if I have angle 2 and angle 10, the line that they both share, the line that runs across both of them is going to be A. And that makes lines C and lines D the line that my transversal crosses. So they're both on the right side of the transversal, and they're both above the line that the transversal crosses. So this makes them corresponding angles because they're in the same position on the lines that cross the transversal, and they're on the same side of the transversal. So finally, we're looking at 8 and 11. So I have 8 over here, and I have 11 over there. But if I trace the lines that 8 is on, 11 is not on those lines. So if they are not on the same line, then they have no relationship. And they are not corresponding, they're not alternate interior because they are not on a transversal. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to write your inverse, converse, and contrapositive statements. Then I want you to tell me the truth value. So are the statements that you write true? If they are false, I want you to explain to me why they are false. You can go ahead and check your answers with the completed notes on Canvas.